Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, we are going to be discussing my November reads. So I'm just gonna jump right in. In the month of November, I read 5 books with a total of 2,119 pages. I read 2 fantasies, 1 dystopian, and 2 dark romances, and my average rating was fantastic actually. It's a 4.2, which was great considering the last few months have been like 3.5 or so. So 4.2 is really good. So starting off strong, the first book I have is ACOTAR. This was the first book that I read in the month of November, and of course, it's ACOTAR, first of all. Second of all, it's Sarah J. Maas. So, it's going to be a high rating, and I actually rated this a 5 stars because ACOTAR is just so nostalgic for me because this was like the first actual fantasy that I read, if you want to say that, because I also did read Harry Potter, but this was the first, I want to say book talk fantasy that I read. So, it has a special place in my heart, and that's another reason why when a lot of people ask me if I like Throne of Glass or ACOTAR better, I'll most likely say ACOTAR just because it has such a special place in my heart. ACOTAR is the start of a very long series, if you will. Now, the actual ACOTAR series, though, is only 5 books, including the novella, but after you read ACOTAR, you are encouraged to read Throne of Glass, and then after you read Throne of Glass, you're encouraged to read Crescent City. That is genuinely how the time span of these books go. So, you have to read ACOTAR to read Throne of Glass and to understand some things in Throne of Glass, and then you have to read Throne of Glass to understand some things in Crescent City. So ACOTAR, this first book, this one thing that Miss Feyre Archeron does, sets up the entire Sarah J. Maas series. This book, like I said before, just has a special place in my heart. Basically, the story is about a young girl. Her name is Feyre, and she is 19 years old. She is taking care of her 2 older sisters. I know, crazy. And her father, who has a broken leg or something. She goes out in the woods to hunt one day. They're all poor. They're living in this little shack. Her dad used to have a ton of money, but something happened, so then they got moved to a small little shack. Her mother died, and while her mother was on her deathbed, Feyre promised her mother that she will take care of her siblings and her father. So now she's out hunting one day, and she hunts a wolf, winds up killing the wolf, and it winds up being a Fae being, which is part of the Fae territory on the other side of the wall. So there's a wall that separates the humans and then the Fae. So that wolf was a Fae that crossed the wall and came over, and Feyre killed it to hopefully eat it for dinner, and that winds up being an actual Fae. So a beast comes over, snatches her up, takes her back to his land to live there for the rest of her life. Or he could just kill her on the spot. But of course, she decided to go with him to his lands, and that's the start of ACOTAR. Basically, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, if you get what I'm saying, but the rest of the series is not. The first book is 100% a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but once you get to the second book, it is completely different. The second book is my favorite. I'm so excited to reread the second book because there's so much foreshadowing in just this book alone, and you can see a lot of my tabs. I'm pretty sure the purple is foreshadowing, so there's a lot at the beginning, a lot of foreshadowing at the beginning, and then just throughout the book there was a bunch of things that just popped up, and I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. And a lot of it foreshadowed to the second book. So yeah, ACOTAR, 5 stars, one of my favorite series in the entire world. If you haven't read it, you 100% need to, and you're gonna fall in love. And then you're gonna go on to read Throne of Glass, which you're also gonna fall in love with. I have yet to read Crescent City yet, but when I do, I'm most likely gonna fall in love with it. The next book that I read in the month of November was Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This was a dark romance, and I wasn't too sure going into this. I really just didn't have a clue what I wanted to read. And so I saw this on Kindle Unlimited, and I picked it up, and I was like, So I started reading it, and at first it was giving The Predator vibes by Runix, which I don't like. I read that a few months ago, and I don't want to say despised it because I feel like that's a little harsh, but I just genuinely didn't like it. I didn't like the plot. I didn't like how everything played out. If I'm going to read a dark romance, it needs to be not like how The Predator played out. If you don't know how The Predator played out, basically it was just purely physical, no emotional relationship. And at the end, the whole point of the story was just disregarded, which doesn't help any of us. So, that's just not my type of dark romance. I don't know if that's an actual, subplot of dark romance that nothing happens in the end and it's just purely physical, but that's just not my thing. So I picked up Corrupt, and that's what I thought it was going to be at the beginning, but as I progressed, this book got so incredibly, amazingly, wonderfully, I don't even have any other words to describe it. Now, you're probably thinking I'm gonna rate this 5 stars, but it's not. Let me explain. Oh my god, what's her name? Nima. Corrupt is about a girl. Her name is Erica Fane, but everybody calls her Rika. And she's been with her boyfriend for a good time now. Her boyfriend was actually just a friend and then wound up being forced into the relationship. So she's with her boyfriend, but her boyfriend's older brother has always been like intriguing to her. His name is none other than Michael Crist. And so all her life she's basically being like babied. Like everybody helps her with everything. Like, you know, she's always being taken care of. She just wants to be her own self. She wants to be independent. So she moves away, goes to college, but as she's in college, she is reminiscing on her younger days when she was like 15, 16, 17 about, and she's in high school, and these 4 horsemen who every year pull a big prank individually. So each of the 4 horsemen pull a humongous prank, whether it be killing somebody, committing arson, all of those types of crimes. So all the 4 horsemen are committing all these crimes, and, you know, Erica's just reminiscing on it and thinking back to it, and you get basically 4 timelines if you think about it in this book. You get Michael Crist present, Michael Crist past, then you get Erica Fane present, and then Erica Fane past. Basically, you have like 4 timelines in this book, and it's pretty hard to keep up with. Honestly, I was getting a lot of stuff confused, but at the end it all added together, and that was what was perfect. So Erica's in her college, and then, you know, the 4 horsemen just like pop up out of nowhere. They're like, hey, how you doing? And they are getting revenge for something that Erica did back when they were young. Going to the past now, Erica went with the 4 horsemen on their little pranks one year, I believe when she was either 15 or 16, and she went to do their little pranks and something goes wrong. And so now, jumping back to like present timeline, the 4 horsemen are getting revenge for something that Erica supposedly did way back. That's basically all I can tell you, but it is so good. It is spicy. It is, there's something that happens in every chapter, which I just want to point out. Literally every single chapter there's something happening. You are literally never going to be bored. It's so good. It really is like so good. And if you are not typically a dark romance reader, I think you will still enjoy this because it's not only like just dark romance, but like these men, oh, I love them. Oh my god, you have Michael Crist, Damon Torrance, my fave, Ty Morey. Oh my god, who's the other one? William Grayson III. Oh my god, I love them. Will is so funny. Damon is, he's crazy. He's crazy. I'm scared for that book because I'm pretty sure his is Kill Switch, and I'm genuinely like nervous, like shaking in my boots for that book. Ty Morey is so sweet. Yes, he's one of the 4 horsemen, but like he's literally so sweet. I don't know. Michael Crist, I feel like just didn't really do anything for me. Like while I was reading the book, I was like, yes, but like I feel like he like doesn't really stand out with all of them. He's kind of just like mid. You know, like he's great and I love him. But like out of the 4 horsemen, he's probably last, I'm gonna say. But I still absolutely love the book, so that changes nothing. I'm going to rate Corrupt a 4.5 stars. That was such a good book. You guys have to read it. Again, even if you are not a dark romance reader, it is definitely a book for you. There's tension, spice, like I said. Like, it's just so good, and there's always so much happening. Next, we have The Cruel Prince. Now, if you saw my updates during reading this on Instagram, you would know that I was absolutely miserable reading this book. Nobody warned me that it was really boring. Nobody warned me. I was going into this book, I was going into this book thinking that this was going to be probably my next favorite read ever, and not even close. Not even close. This was so incredibly hard to get into. It took me like a week just to read the first like 100 pages, and then after that it was okay. It was also very dramatic, which I would love to add because there was just so much stuff that was like over dramatized that did not need over dramatization. Like the first few chapters were just so unbelievably dramatic. Like she would step in mud and be like, oh my god, my life is ruined. It's not that serious. The writing was also like very direct, if you know what I mean. She would say like, I lost my shoe, or like, it started to rain, or like, I need food. There wasn't any like great, you know, poetic writing like some other authors I know, which I will be talking about very soon. But like, there's just like, there was nothing to give. There was nothing given to us. Like, nothing. Like, it was just very boring in general. Oh my god, I just had to go and delete so much stuff because my storage is full. The Cruel Prince is about a girl. Her name is Jude, and she has a twin sister, and she also has an older sister. Basically, their mom got like killed, and this is like in the prologue of the story, so like there's no worries about this, but her mom got killed by some guy. The guy took the older sister and the twins to go live with him in the Fae world, and so they've been living with him. He's basically their dad. He married another woman, and then the woman then had a child. So basically they are living with their mother's murderer, whom they love. That's the perfect way to describe this book, and it's honestly pretty good at the end. Like, I'm really not gonna lie, like, it was good at the end, but like throughout the book I was genuinely bored. I was wanting to DNF it, but I got through, and yeah. Around 40% was when it started to get like a little bit better. Like, there wasn't much like boringness. Like, it started to get a little bit better. I still don't really understand the entire plot of that book because there was so much going on, and like sometimes that's good. Like in Corrupt, that's great, but like The Cruel Prince, it was more like hectic everything going on that I just couldn't stick to one thing, and I couldn't figure out what our actual plan was, what the plot was. It was just very hectic. So Jude and Locke were, you know, there was like something going on with them, and then Jude would say like, oh yeah, like you think he's cute, and then literally 2 pages later she made out with him. What? Literally 2 pages later she was making out with him after she just said that he was cute. And it was so like nonchalant too. It was like, oh yeah, like we made out like a few times, you know, like it's nothing. It literally wasn't sarcastic like I was just doing. Like, it was genuine, like, oh yeah, like it wasn't a big deal. Like, that's basically all I have to say about The Cruel Prince. I'm rating it a 3 stars. Like, it really wasn't anything crazy. I really didn't love it. The ending was surprising though, and I remember that I was listening to the audiobook while I was making a scrapbook for Emma, so like I really didn't comprehend a lot that was happening. I was just genuinely trying to get this book done because I despised it, but as I was listening to the audiobook and doing the scrapbook, I literally like put this stuff down and I was like, what? Like, it like genuinely shocked me for a second. The ending was a lot better than the start, so if you are having trouble at the beginning of this book, just get 50% in. Next, I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. I actually reread this because I was obsessed with this book when I first read it, and I was just really having the urge to pick it up. I read it in like 3 days, which is really good for me, but I was also listening to the audiobook, so, you know, I kind of cheated, but like not really, so I'm still counting it because audiobooks count. I would first like to say that I do not in any way like the author, and I don't like most of her writing. But this book was something else. I would also like to mention Epic Burn. Colleen never used that again. Ugh, disgusting. It was like the first few pages of this book said Epic Burn. I literally put down the book and I had to like give myself a moment to like comprehend what I was gonna do next with my life. I just kept reading, but still, no. Verity is about an author, and her name is Lowen, and she is living in New York, and one day she is walking across the street, and, you know, some guy's head just, like, explodes onto her, and she gets blood on her, because that's New York. Like, that's what happens in New York, you know? His head got run over by a truck because he was on his phone. Don't walk the road on your phone, kids. So, the blood gets splattered on her, she's wearing a white t-shirt, and she's on her way to a, like, job interview, so she's like, what am I gonna do now? So this guy is like, here, I'll help you. Random guy on the street pulls her to a coffee shop. They both change in the bathroom. So he is now wearing just like a regular shirt and gave her his shirt. So now she has on his big t-shirt. So she goes into her meeting, and ironically, the guy who gave her his t-shirt is in that meeting. And basically the meeting is about the guy's wife. Now the wife is paralyzed, but like not really paralyzed. She's like not able to move. Like, she can move her eyes, she can eat, she can drink, but she like physically cannot move. So the guy wants Lowen, well, his name, okay, let me actually give you his name. His name is Jeremy. So, Jeremy, his wife's name is Verity. Now, Verity is the one who has the condition, like, she physically cannot move. Now, Verity was a very known author, and she has written, like, very, very, very good books. And they're very popular, like, they're best-selling. And so, Jeremy wants Lowen to continue the series because Verity can't. So, Verity was the one who recommended Lowen to Jeremy, or Lowen to, like, her team, so that she can finish the book. So, there's, like, the rest of the series that she needs to finish. So she winds up taking the job, and then she goes to Jeremy and Verity's house to, you know, like, look through her stuff and figure out, like, who she was as a person. Forgive me if the lighting keeps changing. I've just made a amazing discovery. Basically, CapCut, the video app that I edit, like, all my videos on, was saving all of my gigabytes. And so I literally had 130 gigabytes. If you don't know how much that is, literally I have 256 gigabytes in my phone, and I think that's the most you could possibly go. Every single time I would sit down and start recording, it would tell me that I had too much storage. I was like, what do you mean? And I deleted so many videos. I had, like, I want to say 6,000 videos before I started filming, like, YouTube videos. Now I'm down to 30,000 because I have to keep deleting photos for just, like, a minute of video time. So, anyways, I told you that to tell you this. I made an amazing discovery, and I saw this guy on YouTube, watched his video. I cleared out, literally, I want to say 110 gigabytes on my phone just from CapCut. Deleted them all. I have so much storage now. What the heck? Didn't even know that that was possible, but I did it. And now I can freely do my videos without being interrupted, saying that my storage is full. So, back to talking about Verity. Verity accepts the job, and she goes and lives with Jeremy and Verity for a little while to kind of better understand, like, her surroundings and how Verity thinks, so that she can make the books in the series that Verity wrote as best as possible to what Verity was trying to accomplish. So as she's living in this house, she finds a manuscript that basically tells all of Verity's stories. It starts from when she met Jeremy and then goes all the way until she had the accident that made her I don't know the word. So Lowen finds this manuscript, and it's, like, hidden in one of her drawers in Verity's office, and she starts to read it. So she basically learns everything that Verity has done in her life, and, you know, some things are just very, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just crazy. Throughout the manuscript, Lowen is trying to contain herself because Verity is absolutely creeping her out, and, you know, Verity is literally sitting there like this, watching her every move. Anyway, this woman is interesting. I would like to know if you guys are team manuscript or team letter in the comments. Because I personally am team manuscript. If you know, you know. If you don't, please read this book. And I know Colleen Hoover is such a problematic author, but please read this book. See, if Miss Colleen Hoover wrote more books like this that are, like, dark romance but thrillery, personally, I'd consider this a dark romance just because of everything that happens at the end and how everything happens at the end. I feel like this is definitely a dark romance. Some people also just see it as a thriller. I'm gonna say dark romance though, but if Colleen Hoover wrote more books like this, I think she would be more liked because this book was fantastic, and that's all I have to say. So 4 stars for Verity. Lastly, we have Unravel Me. This is the second book in the Shatter Me series. Technically the second book, but if you count the novella, then it's, like, the third. Unravel Me was actually surprisingly really, really good. I started this a while ago, but I wound up DNFing it because I just, like, wasn't really getting into it, and I was already, like, a good chunk into the book, but I wasn't feeling it, so I put it down. So I picked it back up, started from the beginning, and oh my goodness, it was fantastic. Here are all my tabs, by the way. I'm very proud of them. The pink one is my husband. Yeah, the pink one is the love of my life, my man, my husband, all of the above. I want to say that Tahereh Mafi's writing is probably my favorite writing that I've ever read in my entire life, because I just can't believe the, like, is poeticism a word? If it is, I'm gonna use it. If it's not, I'm still gonna use it. But, like, if you know what I mean, like, the poeticism of this book is like crazy. Like the way that she perfectly writes things. Like, hold on, I'm going to find you an example of like such poetic writing. But when I read Ignite Me, which is the next book, I'm definitely going to make a tab for like poetic writing, because I noticed that when I was reading the first book, Shatter Me, and I was like, wow, her writing is incredible. And now that I was reading this, I kind of forgot that when I went into this book, so I didn't do a tab on it. But when I read Ignite Me, and like the rest of the series, I'm 100% going to do a tab for like poetic writing. And I was absolutely in love with just like how she did this book. Aaron Warner has my entire heart. Aaron Warner is my husband. He's my soulmate. He is my love of my life. He is everything, all of the above. Check all the boxes. I love him so much. And although he may be 5'9", and although he may be shorter than me, I'm still in love with him. And that is okay. We love a short king. So around like 40% into this book, it starts to get really good. Like, honestly, there's just a lot of, I don't want to say dragging along, because it really wasn't dragging along. It was just very informational. The first 40%, there was a lot of information given, and it was basically like building trust and building friendships throughout the first 40%. But once you get past that 40% mark, it is like nonstop, actually like insane. Like, I was reading this and I kept doing the calculations on my phone to see like what percent in I am. Literally, like, once I got to 40%, I was like, holy crap, like this is getting way too good. It was fantastic throughout the entire book. The love of my life was amazing, fantastic. I have, let me count. Oh, I don't have as much as I thought. I have 12 tabs on him, which isn't as much as I thought, and it's not really a lot, but I could have done way more. I just didn't want this whole thing to be pink. Oh, but I do love pink. I should have done that. This was fantastic. The ending was crazy. Oh my god, there were so many things that are like flashing back to me, and I'm like, how? Oh my god. The relationship that gets built in this book, if you know, you know, is fantastic. Fantastic. I don't want to spoil literally anything. Even if you already know, I'm still not going to say anything. But the relationship that happens like 50%, maybe 70, 60% through the book and on until literally the last page, that relationship, oh my god. I did not realize how much I was going to fall in love with these two characters, because I feel like they just complement each other so well, and there's so much that we find out from this one character who is so unbelievably similar to the other character. And they're so similar, they're just so compatible with each other. I think that's a good word. They're very compatible with each other, and I think they would be not only a great couple, but just like an amazing force. If they worked together, they could literally be unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable, and that's literally what one of the characters said. But like, oh my god, like they would literally be the best, absolute, perfect couple and force in the entire world. They would be literally unstoppable, and I think we may be getting that soon, so I'm very excited. But this was definitely a surprising high rating for me. I don't want to say high rating, but just a surprising book in general, because I wasn't expecting to enjoy this as much as I did. And I really, really, really enjoyed this book. I'm giving it a 4.25 stars, and I know that seems a little bit low, but I know that the rest of the books get so incredibly unbelievable, and I'm just kind of waiting for those. And this was still amazing, and I still 100% recommend the series. I also recommend reading the novellas as well, because I read Shatter Me, and then I read Destroy Me, which is the first little novella in the novella. So there's literally 2 novellas in a novella. So you read Shatter Me, then you read Destroy Me, which is this first one, and then you read Unravel Me, and then you read, I think this is Fracture. Yeah, this is Fracture Me, and then, you know, you just go on through the rest of the series. I'm not going to get all into that, but I highly recommend the novella, because this isn't a different character's point of view, if you were wondering. But it's definitely worth reading, because it definitely gives you some more insight on this particular character that we're reading about. So I definitely recommend that if you want to do the whole series with the novellas. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed my November wrap up. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.